Guys in this sweet, sweet, sweet village, we born and grow. Keep it playing. Run the music. And I want you to know, the meek shall inherit the earth. We are not here to fight and fight against flesh and blood, but principalities and power, spiritual wickedness in high and low places. So when I say fire, you say burn, fire, fire. I hear some of you, but I hear all of you. It's a collective consciousness. You can know the story in the Bible when David slew the lion with a sling on a stone. Wow! And Samson saw the Philistine and with a donkey jumped on. One more time. When I say fire, you say burn. Fire! Fire! When I say culture, you say learn. Culture! Let me say respect to all the living one them. Living one alone, me could have called with retreat, but with eagle. In the earth and heaven. All microphones, pick up these children. They put the rampage again. But the rap up on the mic, the go clean and to them. Them are vital. We are able and we pay. About the waste of time, but chase the dollars and again. Stones got the real rock music on Sakata. I want to say blessed emancipation. Blessed emancipation. We're sending real love to the African nation, y'all. Blessed to be good. Where will it big up? They live in one them already. But you know, it's woman make the world go round, you know. Did you hear what I said? Mama make the world go round. To all the empress, all the African queens, let me hear you scream. Listen, I'm going to say respect to Queen Omega and ya. Foundational vibration, I turn our mother, they try to remove ya. And with them Roman slander. But the beginning I go about to them propaganda, mama, you jumbo. That mean you're picking at the house. Riches of the earth, but I never church mouse, just conscious. And about the shadow, I make the vampire come suck out now your blood like crap. Yeah, yeah. Most of people just throw your hands up in the air. Wave your hands up in the air. And Mr. Pump your fists up in the air. And they don't let your dance no fear now. And if you're ready to rock, it Ras Kofi tonight. Somebody say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I want to put the mic on the conga drum. Yeah. I came with my family tonight. It's fun to come out to my parents, you know. A box down with that, right? A box down with that, right? Let's guess we can box down with that for sure. Well, if you bubble the box down, people you catch. A box down with that? Let's trouble the box down, people you catch. I can't hear you. You trouble the African people you catch. Y'all know what the people know. If people the African people you catch. Fire, you couple the Buxton people you catch. Couple the African people you catch. The fire will never retire, y'all. Go! Anytime you're ready, next tune. Oh, like Dr. Hines got a long time. That same house right there. I can't forget. I can't forget George and Twilly. If I start calling him, I can't stop. So our protocol is observed. I want to send up respect to all the elders who grow me from young, from little boy stuff. From little boy. And as them said, puppy have to turn dog if can't lick. And now we have a grandson. And guess what? Guess what is the birthday of my grandson? The 1st of August. So he's not here with us tonight. But I want to ask you to celebrate with me, my grandson, and all of our children. Right now, let's make some noise if we love our children. No, man, they're weak, man. We don't want them up. Nobody want to love the children, you know. Nobody want to love the picnics. Let's make some noise if you love the children. Run the music, run the music. Man, moving through Bando. Pull up! I'm calling my brother Bilal Denari to the stage. Big singer from long time. International superstar. And he come down a BX to spar. This is called the African Soldier. Any African soldiers in the house? Wait. I said any African soldiers in the house. Run it. Man say moving through brand new musical beats. To make you bounce and twist on the road like this. Pick it up. As a man thinking, so we see. Ras Kofi Kwayana and the iPhone song. Ordinary, back to it. Yeah, like Rastafari. Run it, man. Reaching out to all African soldiers, all ragamuffin soldiers, all original Buxtonians, and all the African Kofi Kwayana music out there to make you bounce and play. They come to the moon like this. As a man think it's so easy, Ras Kofi and Bilal Denari. Bilal Denari, talk to the crowd. And the morning gets to see, so it's almost over. You hear what the man say? And no business complete. Mr. Boy, microphone, so there's one only going, and it's almost over. Like the Ethiopian soldier. Hey! That's what I never come a whole life. I never control life. I rock up and go life. I talk on the road, I roam and not so nice. Where we are lion and go right. We go in for the beat, singing us all night. This vibration come around. Feel like I want to go. Feel like a back. Only can we strong.
Very good evening to you, and welcome to this evening's edition of Politics 101. We are going to have a big show tonight. Coming in there with the music of Kofi Kwayana. Kofi Kwayana, the son of Brother Yusi Kwayana, who is here on a tour of Guyana, came especially for the Emancipation observances in Buxton, and as an extended tour that has taken him and a group to the other parts of the country. Um, they're on a tour that's called Old Fire Stick Catch Quick. Old Fire Stick Catch Quick. Old Fire Stick Catch Quick. Of course, if you are Guyanese, you know about Old Fire Stick. And we have all kinds of saying about Old Fire Stick. You know, take fire stick at night for look for what you can see with your plain eye during the day. Old Fire Stick does catch quick. Old Fire Stick does catch quick. Kofi Kwayana and a group here with him, they're backstage and they're ready to speak with us. We are going to be talking to them about a range of issues. So please share the link, share the live, and let everyone know that we are on tonight. We were on last night for the first time in a week, and we are back tonight. The emancipation activities of the past week kept us off. And of course, last night we had Dr. Jeffrey on, and we were talking about the issue of constitutional reform and the importance of that topic as we move into national elections. And so tonight we'll be talking culture. We'll be talking culture in its broadest sense. And yes, the just concluded first part of the emancipation observances was fraught with some how should I put it, some controversy as the PPP government tried to invade the emancipation activities in pursuit of their quest to dominate every aspect of society and to dominate Africans. What they have done is they tried to put on competing events, or they did put on competing events in a number of African communities. And in other communities, what they did was to give subventions from the Ministry of Culture to some groups and got to take over the events in those groups. Well, the one place they didn't try that nonsense was Buxton. All the events were put on by the 1st of August movement, and they did not put on any competing events. They didn't come with that nonsense in our village. They also did not give us any subvention. And we say thank you very much. You did us a wonderful favor, because the fact that you didn't give any subvention to Buxton meant that you could not have done what you did the year before, which was to call us and tell us the Prime Minister is coming to speak, and he will speak last, and we had to tell the Prime Minister, and that's how it just got. We got a government submission, and that is not a ticket for you to come on to our stage. And so this year they didn't give us the subvention. But you, the people, made contributions, and we were able to pull our events off. We still have a lot of events to go. We have a business expo later on this month, and we also have a poetry competition and an emancipation essay competition. So we're not done yet. And we would like to thank all of you for contributing to the success of the events thus far. And I think the model is that we were able to do that in Buxton because we adopted the Kwayana model, which is that although some of us are national leaders, we are also local leaders. And we put as much effort into local developments, local culture, local politics, local education, as we put into national politics. And so those of us in the WPA were able to give leadership to the village and help to keep the vultures out. They would not dare to do that. They can't bribe us in the WPA. They can't. They can't. They wouldn't even try to bribe us. And because we are there in the village, in the forefront, not just of the politics of the village, but the culture, the education, we were able to give leadership to the village. And as I said, that is the Kwayana model, that you may be a national leader, but you're also a local leader, where you live, that you play a part in what is happening in your village. And we have continued that. I think the political parties have to be very clear about what the PPP is doing. The PPP is not playing. They're coming into our villages. They're finding slave catchers and they're sending them to catch our people as if they're chattel. And the political parties have to say clearly that they're defending our communities. We in the WPF set that tone, that our communities need defense against these people, and we defending them. We don't have any problems in Indian Guyanese coming in, even to participate. Last year, we had GHK Lal. When I was a young man, we brought in Dr. Jagan to come. We don't have any problem with that. What we have a problem is in you trying to take over and control African activities in pursuit of your control of African people. And we are not playing that. They had alternative events in New Amsterdam. They had an alternative event in Georgetown. They took over the Belladrum event, took over the Uptown event, and we're saying not in Buxton. And we are setting the tone for how we must behave when these people come at our gates. As I said before, we have had to deal with a couple of brothers, a couple of sisters who accuse us of turning the event into a political event. Emancipation is political. It's political. Our role is not to sing and dance, so massa, because that is what they had our people doing there in Uptown and some of these places, singing and dancing for them, and they sit down and clap. If we are singing and dancing, we sing and dance for ourselves. And our song and our dance must be cultural weapons. And that's what we did in Buxton. Give thanks. Give thanks. Please share the link. I think we're ready to talk. Let's bring in our guest. Brother Kofi, good evening.
Hi, Jambo. See Jambo, Dr. Hines.
Sister Sunny or Sunni, tell me if I got it wrong.
It's Sunny. Yes, sir. How are you?
I am fine, thanks.
Very good.
Brother Kofi, of course, is the son of Brother UC Kwayana for the Guyanese audience, and Sister Sunny is African American. She is how should I put it? She's everything. She's a poet. She's a healer. She is a mother. She's a queen. She's what we in the Black community all over the world call the quintessential African, operating at various levels at the same time, and always ready to uplift the African spirit. Kofi, let me start with you. You're on tour with this group, and the group and the tour, it's called Old Fire Stick Catch Quick. Talk to us about Old Fire Stick Catch Quick.
Well, thank you again for having us, Dr. Hines. For full disclosure, I kind of invited myself on my elder brother's show, and he accepted my invitation.
That's all right.
Just for the people who, and part of it is because we were sitting there reflecting in the UC Kwayana Emancipation Symposium. which the First of August movement put together. And of course, as any thought-provoking cipher or circle of discourse would do, it provokes some thoughts, it provokes some debate, it provokes some pushback, it provokes some questions, which is very healthy, which is very necessary for our public and private lives. So, in a nutshell, Old Fire Stick Catch Quick speaks to the reality that you just spoke to in your introduction in terms
Yeah.
of the sovereignty of local politics, and even to the redefinition of politics. Because I heard you loud and clear when you say that some people say, well, emancipation time is not politics time. I feel that that's in many ways because we have been traumatized. And so we have a kind of twisted definition of politics. When we hear the word politics, we automatically think about these people who have ravaged the world in high places, who have robbed country after country, who have oppressed the voice of freedom and all this kind of stuff. But politics, I think about an elder named Dr. Wade Nobles, who you may know, whose name you may know, Dr. Hines.
Yes,
He
I do.
once he once said that politics, or not politics, but power, which is really the fullness, the full reason for anything political anyway. Power is the ability to define phenomenon and have other people accept it as if it's their own definition. And so when you talked about local government, when you talked about, as you were talking, I was thinking about times when I would follow behind my father on the sideline dam there in Buxton to the house of Mr. Victorine and other people to BV, and I was following him to meetings, what they call nuclei meetings, the various nuclei of the Working People's Alliance at that time. This is the late 70s before we had to leave this country in political exile. I was a small boy then. I left here standard four, but that memory stays with me to this day. And not just because of some kind of some kind of I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it's just a memory that is nostalgic. It's not just nostalgia. It's because there's a blueprint there that as I developed my own perception of the world, as I started to have experience in struggles of African people and oppressed people in different parts of the world, the same questions that are in all of our minds tonight come to my head. How can we break this cycle? How can we shift the paradigm? How can we retell the story? And it's those examples, as you said, of local involvement. So, in a nutshell, that's what Old Fire Stick Catch Quick is. It's about remembering because, even when you talk about education, the root word of the word education is educe. And if we study the root of that word, it doesn't mean to inject something, it means to bring out that which is already in.
Yeah.
I heard you speak about a secret my father put you on to at the symposium. When in the late 60s, he saw the dwindling of activism coming from a time of powerful, pan Caribbean, much less Guyanese activism, towards nationality, towards the independence, basically, and the establishment of independent nations. And he saw a bunch of youth that were progressive and that were eager and that were willing. And so he cleaved onto them. And so what he did, what he was able to do in others, was to bring out that which was already in David Hines and Kimani Neusi and Theo Morris and then Boya Wood, and we start calling names we can't stop. That's
Right.
what he did. He brought out something that was already there. So my point is that we already have the medicine within us. We're born
Yes.
with this. And many times this theory is seen as kind of simplistic. It's seen as unrealistic. Yeah, we got the medicine and we got culture and we got spirit, but what do I have to do with the real world? And what Old Fire Stick Catch Quick Tour is about reminding us how very practical, how absolutely influential our energetic life is, our communion with ourselves, and therefore with our community, and therefore with our wider environment. And we're doing this through culture in many different ways.
In many different ways. Brother Kofi, you played, performed at Buxton last Wednesday night, the
Yes.
Black is Beautiful concert, and you have been making appearances across the country. Other than Buxton, where else have you all gone?
Well, I want to say much love to the Actor family, who, as you noted earlier, there was an attempt to sabotage a long-standing 30-year event. We performed there at the National Park on the next day on the 1st of August. We've been in Golden Grove. We just come back from Linden. We've been in Buxton, our beautiful village of Buxton. We're heading to Berbice. And we've been in East Ruimveldt, in a neighborhood where many people don't like to go. Again, all of this is invoking memories. I'm walking in a very clear genetic memory bank from even this time in my life, or this dispensation, I would say, in the late 70s when I was tagging behind people like yourself and Nigel Westmus and Karen D'Souza in Tiger Bay. You know, it's something to be said. It's more than just poetry when they say the meek shall inherit the earth. And
That's
so
right.
that's what we're focusing on. We don't need to look at this thing like an insurmountable mountain. We just need to revive ourselves again. As a farmer, there's a principle we work with in the farm, and it's called plant positive instead of pest negative. What does that mean? Well, plant positive means it's based on the premise that a plant in its true form, in its full essence, will not be so susceptible to the pests because parasites only attack weak cells. Parasites only attack weak cells, and that is an analogy that we can apply to any part of our Guyanese life right now, as you do night after night on this show. So instead of focusing on how to get rid of the parasites, what we focus in is on building up the plant, building up the soil, because soil is the most important component in successful agriculture. That's why
Yes.
you have university curriculum now about soil science, right? So it's the same thing. Let us build up ourselves again in the way that is so profound, in a way that has such an enduring legacy even up to now. And we don't have to worry about the rest. The rest kind of takes care of itself.
Kofi Kwayana here, along with his ensemble, on Old Fire Stick, the Sketch Quick. It's the title they've given to the ensemble and to their performances. Let me bring you in, Sister Sonny. You are from the New Orleans area, and
Yes,
of
sir.
course that's a part of the world that is pregnant with African history and
Yes.
everything that is forward looking about African people. Is one of the pieces of earth that we have watered with our blood, with our culture, and with our personality. And you operate in that area. I, of course, attempted to introduce you, but the kind of multifaceted work that you do cannot be introduced by myself. So I'll ask you to introduce yourself to our audience here, Guyanese, who are very much conscious of the Pan Africanist connection. Talk to us.
Yes. I think you did a fantastic job. Number number one. Um, yeah, to I guess reiterate everything you said. The work that I do is it takes on the avenue, I guess we can say, of poetry in so many ways. But the overall essence is first really about a state of remembrance and recollection and what that really means. So you heard our brother speak about this aspect of remembrance and really looking at it not just from a place of memory in this way, but also from this space of what does it mean to put ourselves back together again. So when we're talking about this aspect of Pan-Africanism and being here in this space and gathering ourselves throughout the diaspora, um, that's what so much of this work is about, and that's what pretty much what this tour is really about. How do we spark this aspect of memory so that we can put ourselves back together again? When we're talking about this aspect of culture, talking about this aspect of spirit, this aspect of physical health and everything that comes with that as well. We've been, to be in so many spaces and to see the beauty and to experience the genius of the youth that we've encountered has been a remarkable peace, because we know that with them truly lies not just the future, but our present selves. So we can look at them right now and see what it is and where it is we have been, and then where it is that we're also going, because they have such a bright light and just a tremendous message to share what we've heard. One of them that we've heard, because so much of this is also centered around this aspect of spirituality and how we bring in this aspect of African spirituality. I do want to bring up a point when we're talking about politics as well. So one space that we all tend to come from, everyone I can say in this ensemble in this way, in this particular cohort and group, is also from the space of politics. So there's a definition that says that politics is the highest, or spirituality is the highest form of politics. If we're looking at politics as the gaining and maintaining of power, how we gain and maintain power is by way and through this aspect of spirituality, which is really this umbrella in this way of culture and what that really means. So we're talking about culture. One of my elders would say culture is the vitamin C. That's the true vitamin C, and what it is that shapes and forms us. We know that any cell, right, that we're studying in science, you put it inside to study it, you put it inside of a culture. So everything that we are doing is to again bring up and spark the memory, so that we're able to move forward and find ourselves wherever we are, and dismantle this aspect of white supremacist culture, or white supremacy. I'm saying white supremacy, which really is white inferiority masking as supreme politic and behavior. So I think the thing for us is really, just again, that aspect of remembrance, that aspect of coming together and bringing our song and bringing our dance. For us, that was something powerful that you said when we're talking about, if we're gonna sing and dance, let us sing and dance, for ourselves. It's something as an artist, and the work that I do in New Orleans is train artists to be community health workers. So for people to be able to go and share resources and move in community, also moving from the space that the artist, um, it not only has a message but has the medicine. We believe that art, when it comes down to it, and the artist, not just art, because it's quite often we love the art but we don't take care of the artist. So the point of this also is to bring in this aspect of artistry. Not just art is like medicine, we're saying that art is medicine. So when we're talking about taking all of our medicine, how really do we take in our art? How really do we utilize our art? How do we do language? How do we utilize language? And something that can go beyond dialect, beyond whatever. What I realize is that to be multilingual or bilingual is not just, oh, this person can speak Spanish or French or this or that. It really is, can I speak the language of the heart? Can I speak the language of connectivity? Can I speak the language of culture in the places where I go? So not only I am welcome, but so that I too am welcoming all these parts of myself. So really we're looking at this as a family reunion in a sense. Um, so I'm grateful for that, grateful to be able to come together with family again.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you very much, sister Sonny, for those words of wisdom. And I note both Brother Kofi and yourself have invoked the notion of memory, and I will come back to that as we continue our conversation. Let me bring in another member of the group here, Brother Ye Ye. I hope I get it wrong, but correct me if I don't get it right. Um, Brother Yeye, talk to us about your experience thus far on this tour here in Guyana.
Greetings,
And
Baba. Greetings.
introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
Yes, sir.
What? I know that you are a singer, but as someone who knows something about the arts and African art, I know you are not just a singer.
Yes, sir. Yes, Baba. Greetings. I appreciate the welcome. And my name is Baba Shola. I had to log in through my business through Yeye's Botanica, which is a spiritual
Oh,
supply store. So that's why I came up like this. But my name is Baba Shola, and I'm a Pan Africanist, a father, an African priest, and I practice my mission through African spirituality and through economic development. I've been an entrepreneur since I can remember, and uh, being here in Guyana with my brother Kofi Kwayana, and our group is an expression of uh, reigniting culture, spirituality, integrity, enthusiasm, excitement, and since we've been here, we've seen young people um, reignited, young people seeing themselves through the eyes of something different, asking about why we're wearing the clothes, why the drum, why do you move like you move, and it's been beautiful because where we come from, there's a lack of cultural interest from our youth, and to be here, you can see how just the name of the tour, "Old Fire Stick Catch Quick." I hadn't heard that until I was introduced to Guyanian culture. But being a man, a dry stick when you light it is going to catch really quick, and so I've seen that with these youth. The culture is here, the want, the need is here, the need and want for independence, togetherness, unity is here, and just with a little bit of spark, a little bit of encouragement. We're seeing young people just open up. Um,
Yeah.
we were in Linden yesterday. We started out the beginning of the session. Nobody answered anything. We said, "Say this." They didn't say anything until we got maybe 5 minutes in. Then we had people smiling and dancing and moving and laughing and engaging. So this is a beautiful thing to see, to be a part of. I give thanks for Baba Ras Kofi, his father, and his legacy, and all of you who have maintained this legacy and continued it on the forefront. And my part here is to explore how African spirituality can be a new foundation for the Africans in Guyana, and Guyana as a country. And to introduce the idea of how we can use spirituality, economics, art, love, and togetherness to unite the African diaspora on the levels that we can. So I really appreciate being here, and I give thanks again.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yes, sir.
And in case you're just joining us, this, of course, is Politics 101, the place to be on any Wednesday night. And of course, tonight we are talking culture, and we are talking culture within the larger context of resistance and memory. Resistance and memory. Tell you what, I'm going to do something here because Kofi, Ras Kofi, indicated to me that he has a soft spot um, for this. What this song that I am going to do here, let's see here. Here we go.
Known in the Calypso world as the Dragon Lady. I love Caribbean influence.
Humming a melody that was strange to me. Then he called me, say, "Sandra, come." He arose and he showed me a country, beautiful everywhere, a land of endless bounty, and the riches beyond compare. There was enough for everybody, for all their material needs. But alas, when the old man showed me, my people, they were all overpowered with greed. And the old man beat his drum. The old man beat his drum. He said, "Take this melody, girl, go to your country, warn them at the road to come, and if you hear him, bye-bye. Revelation time. This is revelation. This is revelation. I want them at the road. Gonna get on them at the road to come. Leaders were fighting each other. They were tearing the people apart. Friends who used to live happy together, now hatred filling your heart. Neighbors were cursing neighbors, whole villages in mayhem. I heard they were listening deceitful leaders who were preaching for doctrine to them. Look, compassion went out of the window. Deviousness reigned instead. Morality was low, 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 but the people were spiritually dead. But the old man still teach wrong. The old man beat it wrong. He said, take this melody, God, go to your country, warn them of the wrath of God. And you warn them of the wrath of God. Revelation. You know what he tell me? He said, "Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills, and everywhere. Oh, tell it on the mountain. The old man beat his drum." The youths were all in a quandary, no sense of direction. They lost all hope cause they just can't cope. They're already yet, but they're gone. They have no respect for their elders, no respect for themselves also. Their spirits were all in tatters and reading an all-time low. Then I hear them cussing the system, they're cussing the leaders too. But they were raping, stealing, shooting and looting, cause they all had nothing else to do. The old man beat his drum. The old man beat his drum. He said, take this melody, girl, what to your country, warn them on the road to come and warn them on the road to come. You're gonna get revelation time. This is revelation. This is revelation. Warn them on the road to come. He said, talk to your spiritual leaders. Tell them get on their knees and pray. To get rid of all these karmas that driving good spirits away. Then he tell them, talk to your fellow Calypsonians. Tell them stop the shame and disgrace. Encouraging people to get on and jump up and mash up the place. But behold, I saw the sunrise coming over the mountain range. The old man said, that is a symbol of hope if your people get serious and change. But the old man beat his drum. The old man beat his drum. He said, take this melody, girl, go to your country, warn them on the road. And
oh yes, the late, great singing Sandra. The old man beat the drum. The old man beat the drum. Brother Kofi, what is it about that calypso that really got you going?
You know, even right now, Dr. Hines, the hair on my arm stand up, you know. What got me going is this is the essence of African motherhood right there. That's the essence of prophecy right there. You know, a prophecy is actually a blessing. A prophecy is a gift. And one could take that in the religious context, but I'm just talking about anything where someone who has insight is able to see what is around the corner and has the love enough to share it with his or her people. Um, I see in that song, again, coming from our village, everywhere I go in the world, I got to acknowledge people like Granny Frida. I call her Granny Frida, Frida Marcus, Sissy Bob, my own mother, Chaiko Kwayana, Molly Brown, Congo Irene, Miss Rowe, Nurse Beard, Teacher Brucey. List goes on. These are women who had a role in society that that would let you know if you ever experienced that this patriarchal model of madness, which is mashing up the world, is not it's not something that is native to our culture. And we have
Yeah.
transcended that even in the 19th and the 20th century and even into the 21st century. So we're not talking about ancient history. What I hear in that song is the compassion and also just the reality of why the old man had to beat the drum and why Singing Sandra had to give the warning. There's a prophecy that says that, if the watchman see danger and don't blow the trumpet, what happened to the city is on the watchman's shoulder. I remember, Dr. Hines, I was watching your show when I saw that, and I was really admiring the stand you took to bring these leaders of the various political parties, or even a particular political party who I know personally that was once a blood rival, of people like yourself, and bring them to the table to say, look, this is our society, and we have the not just the opportunity but the duty to act with the great integrity. So all of those things I hear when I hear that song there, I think of my father himself, who, as you well know, my father is not comfortable with people talking. It's only recently I myself became comfortable with talking about my father in the sense of reflecting publicly about the way he has inspired me, even as a son, and as a man coming through this world. I think of his integrity. I think of how he himself has come to me recently and said, with a form of, I won't say disgust, but even I would say in the sense of a warning, in a sense of a good nudge, that when people talk about his political history, they often miss out his political fasting
Yes.
and other aspects. And I'm saying to you, to the people who say they love AUC Kwayana, it would be good to study what makes Kwayana Kwayana outside of his sharp mind, what nurtured his sharp mind, because I see all of that in that song there, because it's not just about Kwayana, it's about our people. And so, yeah, that song there is a powerful one, and I thank you to introducing it to me. I'm gonna start rinsing that on my own song, my show, and I've been on the radio now 28 years because it's a very relevant song. The old man got to beat the drum, and the old woman got to, sound she can't she, and blow she horn and warn her people because we're moving away from ourselves. We're moving away from ourselves, and we honestly cannot blame anyone for that again. Because the average person in the rum shop or in the street side in America or wherever you are can sit down and tell you chapter and verse about the wickedness of the white man and plots and plans and all these things. So what we're here to do is to ask ourselves, well, how can we rewrite the narrative on a cellular level? Where we
Yes.
again are seeing ourselves as we truly are. Because when we're operating in our culture, as everyone has said, when you're operating from your space of power, you're invincible. That's why the Chinese are not having conversations about Chinese lives matter. That's why Indian people are not having to shout in the street, Indian lives matter. It's not because those lives don't matter, it's because they have done a very good job of maintaining their culture. And we're not going to sit here and act like Africans have not been under attack. It's another proverb, because proverbs say so much about life. That's why we love our culture. It said, people not stone mango tree if it not bear. So even to us as African people, if we take a stock at why we have been under attack, it's because of our worthiness. It's because of how powerful we are. Because if there's some people that in high places that know once we get our stuff together, the story done. So you asked me about the song. I could go on forever. I don't want to overstay my welcome though.
Right, right. People not stone mango tree if he not bear.
A
People not
serious
stone
thing.
Yeah.
mango tree if he not bear. Only this morning I was on Kadaki show, and of course I have taken the liberty on this program of repeating some of those proverbs that teacher George Young
Yes, sir.
in our
Yes, sir.
village made popular. And your own father himself is a Proverbs man. In fact, he has a little
Yes, sir.
booklet of Proverbs.
Gang, gang.
Gang gang, gang gang, gang gang. And
Mhm.
so to hear the youngsters of your generation repeating the wisdom, the folk wisdom that come with those proverbs, it's really quite encouraging. Kofi, memory is especially important for
Yes.
African people because part of what slavery did was to mess with our cultural and historical memory. And so
Yes.
part of repairing, part of reparations, part of reconstructing ourselves is about memory,
Yes.
Mhm.
especially
Yes, sir.
historical memory. Because
Yes.
at when slavery ended here in 1838 in the United States in the 1860s, we had to have memory to do what we did and to reconstruct Africa as much as we can
Yes.
remember it, whether it's in New Orleans, whether it's in the southern states, South Carolina, Georgia, whether it's in the Caribbean, in Guyana, we had to reconstruct Africa
Mm.
from memory. And so it's
Mm.
so important that I heard you, I heard Sister Sonny, I heard Baba talk about memory. Expand on that, Brother Kofi,
Yeah.
how important the whole notion of remembering, the whole notion of memory, the whole notion of historical memory. Let me tell you something. There's a
Mm.
group of Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters, but brothers mostly, who are angry at me and people like Dr. Jeffrey, who you heard there, and Vincent Alexander. They call us they call us memory warriors because we dare to reach for
Mm.
African memory. They say we are memory warriors because we are using history and memory to wage war.
Mm.
So our audience is very
I, I,
conscious.
I would take that as a badge of honor.
Go right
I would
ahead.
take that as a badge of honor, Dr. Hines. I would take that as a badge of honor.
Yes.
I would take that as a badge of honor. Dr. Asa Hill, I want to pass this to Sonny if you don't mind, because
No problem.
we were
Go
just
right ahead,
talking on the
Sonny.
way down from
And
Linden about we were talking right on the way down about the nervous system, and she was reading some things to us about the nervous system. We were just talking about the actual nervous system in the body, and memory directly relates to our people's nervous
Yes.
system, collectively. I just will say briefly, Dr.
Yes.
Asa Hilliard, who is a great historian, was
yes,
once talking about memory, and he used this analogy. And that's why, again, we give thanks for the memory warriors, because that's what's going to invoke our people to get back into full production. He was using the analogy of
Yes.
memory like a computer. You have a fancy screen, you have this big board, and you have this slick keyboard and everything, but without memory, a computer is non-functional. It's when you put the memory in it
Mm.
that it becomes functional. I'll just leave it right there.
Sister Sonny,
Mhm.
memory.
Yes. Yes. All of that and then some. I'm
Yeah.
thinking the first thing that comes up is a story. It's a story that's based in Kemet in Egypt, but it's a story about who was called Het Haru, and she went to Earth. She was sent, it says, by her father Ra, to Earth. So she went to like avenge her father and all these kind of things, and people who went against Ra. But it says that over time she developed a taste, it said, for blood. So who was sent was one who was filled with wisdom, whose name was Jehuti. And so Jehuti went, but he could not go in his natural form, which was this regal bird in this way. He went as a humble baboon. So when he went as a humble baboon, he was able to be accepted, and he kept telling her stories who she was, because by this time, not only had she developed the taste for blood, but she had turned into what they call the lynx. So because she had turned into this animal, she had developed this amnesia, let's say. But being fed all of these stories about the wonder and glory of who she was, over time she began to remember. And then she said, "Oh, you've been talking about me this whole time." At that point, the messenger was able to turn himself back into the fullness of who he was, and she returned to the glory of who she was. I'm saying all that to say this is the beauty and wonder of what it means to be sparked, for your memory to be sparked about who it is that you are, so you can be able to put yourself back together in order to remember and restore and repair your true glory. And the fact that these stories came from a source that was able to be received well, that was able to be accepted. Um, in order for her to see more of herself and see more of who she was. And truly, that's where we are all over the world. I came back from South Africa a few weeks ago, and it's the same conversation. So it's like wherever we are, wherever Black folk are in the world, this is what it is that we're seeing: a conversation of reparation, a conversation of remembrance, a conversation of recollection, a conversation of reconnection, and what that really means. I think we're at a point where, you know how they have the saying that hindsight is 2020. I think where our storytelling, our ways of using our art to spark memory, our ways of using our spirituality again to spark memory, it is allowing not just our foresight or our hindsight to be 2020, but our foresight to be 2020. And that's the point of what it really is that we're doing, so that we can move from a space where we are able to know that our minds are sharp. We know that our hearts are tender, even at the same time. You know that we move from this space. So when we were looking at this aspect of the central nervous system and the enteric nervous system and things like that, talking about epigenetics and all of these kind of things, when it talks about trauma and how trauma plays a part in how it is that we develop, right? And the stressors and everything that come in life. So, so much of this is using again art as medicine, so that we are able to not just remember ourselves, but also that when I look at my brother and I look at my sister, I'm able to remember them as well, so that I don't walk around feeling like I'm alone, so that I don't
Mm.
walk around, with my arm over here, my heart is in the car, my spirit is left at home, and then I go to work. So this is for
Yeah.
us to remember one another, that every time we see one another, we're not seeing an enemy, that every time we see one another, what we know we're seeing is family. What we know we're seeing is someone who is there to assist us along this journey. And that's a powerful piece, to know that we're not alone, to know that as we take this walk, we are not suffering and continuously suffering from the amnesia that, again, a white supremacist system would want us to continue to have. We left the symposium the other night. I feel like all our days are going together. We left whatever night this was. We left the symposium, and I remember reading about the British guide to colonization, right? And seeing this part that spoke about how missionaries and Christianity was used, as was used by the government, right? Because it was a much more financial, it was more financially feasible, right, than military
Mm-hmm.
intervention, and it
Mm-hmm.
was something that they knew would last much longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about bringing in this aspect of African spirituality, certainly we're not coming from this space um, that will keep us and the collective eye, that will keep us in a space of lack, that will keep us in a space of degradation, that keeps us in a space again of amnesia, but something that brings us to be able to witness and accept and see and receive our highest, best, and most appropriate selves every time we look in the mirror. If the mirror is in our house, in our houses, or if the mirror is in my brother or my sister's eyes. That's what, again, the point of so much of this is when we're talking about sparking memory. We're talking about sparking the essence of who we are. We're talking about sparking the God self. We're talking about sparking this aspect that allows amnesia to fall down the drain so that we're able to see ourselves whole.
Baba, how important is historical memory to the African consciousness?
I think that it is essential. Um, I always reflect on the erasing of the memory ritual that was performed in so many places in the United States.
Hmm.
Normally, our cultural rituals are in a circle, and that circle goes in a certain direction. The drum is set up in a certain circle, and it creates several circles within a bigger circle. And there's a ritual that was performed against us to erase our genetic spiritual memories, and we were forced to reverse our direction of our circles, go around the tree the opposite direction, taking the drums out of the ceremonies, and that we have to realize that those spells, those rituals, those attacks are still in play to this day. Um, Myself being, I didn't mention earlier that I'm a drummer because that is the essence of one of my powers and my one of my main tools. And when we are dealing with people who don't remember, I always like to remember. I always like to put into my practice that when we hear music that is layered with negativity, uh, um, um, degradation, with violence, disrespect, and layers of it, and more layers of more negativity. It's the music, it's the beat, it's the vibration of the music that is the captivating part that, in a sense, helps us buy in. And
Yeah.
as a drummer, I've noticed over 25 years that as soon as you play the drum with any rhythm, you don't have to know a Cuban rhythm, a Nigerian rhythm, a Ghanaian rhythm, a Guyanese rhythm. You could just beat any rhythm on the drum, and the slate of the room becomes clear, and that allows us as a people to fill up our youth with the new memory of kindness. And I'm using words that we've used in these classes in the last few days: kindness, integrity, strength, courage, blessings, spirituality, beauty. These are all things that are coming out of people who, in a sense, don't remember the fullness of who they are, but because of the energy of the drum, the energy of togetherness, the energy of culture,
Hmm.
we've seen people to start to remember who they are, start to smile about who they are, and start to be more inquisitive. So our genetic memory, we have to first remember that that has been under attack for thousands of years. It has been strategically and very minutely uh, put against us to dissect who we are from the core, and from the drum, from the song, from the dance, from the clothes to the art, to everything that we do as African people. These are the things that help us to remember. Like, for example, I had this one sewing student, and I was teaching the student how to sew. This was many years ago. Teaching the student how to sew. And the first set of cloth that we brought in was like a regular kind of cotton, just a normal kind of cloth. We did the one lesson with that one fabric. But when I brought the African fabric in, there was a whole nother excitement about the same lesson that I taught this person with the regular polyester or cotton, whatever that was. And it seemed like at that moment, that just touching that cloth, being in the motion of sewing that particular cloth, woke up a part of that person that, to this day, she's still sewing African clothing. still selling African clothing, and has found a way to take care of her family through the making and manufacturing of African clothing. So it's extremely important that we remember one, who we are, our base, where we come from, so that our foundation is not from the base of we were slaves and then, or we were captives and then, but going back far enough to understand that our base is of royalty, our basis of wealth, our basis of power and strength. And if we can start to remember from that base, uh, 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 that brings more productivity as a people. So it's very, very important and very critical that we remember who we are.
We remember who we are. We are speaking here with Brother Kofi Kwayana and his team. They're visiting from the United States of America on a tour here of Guyana. Cultural workers they are, and they performed in Buxton, in Golden Grove, in Linden, in West Ramveld, and so forth. And we are having a discussion here tonight about the role of art and culture in the shaping of the African personality. Sister Sonny, I come back to you. W.E.B. Du Bois famously said that all art is
Yes,
political. And he
absolutely.
published a lot of artists in the Crisis magazine when he was editor, gave them their start there. But he was emphatic that that nonsense,
Yes,
as he didn't use my word, that art is the reflection of what the artist is. He said all art is
it's
political.
political.
Please
Absolutely.
Yes.
expand on that for me, and then I'll go to Brother Kofi.
Oh yes, I'm a firm believer in it. And again, I'm going back to, that aspect of if politics, if we're using that definition of the gaining as the gaining and maintaining of power, then our spirituality, which is inclusive of art and culture and everything, and everything that means and why it is political. So you have some people who will say that it's just art for art's sake. Uh, but that's nowhere near the case. We know that when it comes down to the especially the makeup of the griot or the jelly or the jolly you'll hear, um, what that name and word means is the carrier of the blood. So when we're talking about
Mm,
the artist as griot to be the carrier of the blood, what that means is a powerful, powerful, a powerful thing. So it's also again we're back to memory in that part as well because it is incumbent, of the griot to have an extensive memory because I still have to look at this aspect of lineage and everything in this way. That also brings me to one thing that we were talking about in the car. And this was something because, and why, again, this aspect of remembrance is important. And why, when we're doing it now, we're not just remembering ourselves, but we're remembering lineages because we read something earlier today that said we are remembering in this way for 14 generations. Sometimes we've heard, okay, yes, we're doing this healing work, in 7 generations. This said 14 generations. It was something about as far as cells being found
mhm,
in
Yes.
mothers, a
mhm,
particular kind of cell, and it's something that I can't right now. This particular cell I can't recall. Microchimeric or
mhm,
microchimeric.
Mhm.
MICROCHEMERIC cells. I'm a visual person, so I had to look at it and I had to look at it in my head. But but we were reading about this earlier and looking at this thing of 14 generations, and we think about this from the perspective, particularly, we're talking about Black people in America. Sometimes we can't go past the generation of our grandmothers. So when
Mhm.
we're talking about 14 generations back, we're talking about there's some other tools I'm going to have to develop to get to this point where I'm able to even imagine 14 generations and what that means and what that looks like. So when we're talking about again this aspect of politics and how that allows us to move and have agency in the world, certainly it is. I truly feel like it is the artist that gets us there, and I feel like it's the artist that gets us there because it's the artist that finds the pulse of the people. A politician can't do it unless the politician is an artist or the politician is tapping into this aspect of the art of the politics, or the
Hmm.
science of the art, however you want to look at it. The reality is that it is the artist who truly finds the pulse of the people, who's able to, get into the weeds and get down into the subconscious part, because ultimately that's what it is. When we're talking about these rhythms, we're talking about these sounds. We are attracted to this aspect of the drum because everything in us pulsates, everything in us beats, everything in us has a sound, everything in us has a frequency. So when we're talking about this aspect of drum talk in this way, we're talking about heartbeat, right? Because we know that when a woman is pregnant, what is searched for when they're searching for the pregnancy? They're not looking for the brain beat. They're not looking for the liver beat. They're not looking for the spleen beat. They're listening for the heartbeat. So the drum is so reminiscent of the heartbeat of the people. And that's why, so when our brother is moved by that song, and let me say, I have not seen in a long time a woman move, her body across the stage in this manner as singing Sandra did, right? But when we're talking about why we are moved so much by the old man beating the drum, is because we know the talk of the drum. We know the language of the drum. We know the message of the drum. So even if she
Yes.
just said the song from that point, the old man beats the drum, the old man beats the drum. Not only is this a cry for, yes, telling us that the old man is beating the drum, this is really a call for all of us to listen to the heartbeat. Listen for the heartbeat. Connect with people around us so that we can hear and that we can get in synchronicity with the rhythm of one another. So I'm grateful again to be here so that we're able to, link and get into the rhythm of what it means. The rhythm really of revolution. That's really what we've been learning in Guyana, the rhythm of revolution. And what that really means. And some people can say, revolution can be such a grand kind of word. But I know that my grandfather and my father and all of them used to say that every big was once small. So when we look at all of the spaces that we have been, whether the groups have been tiny, each one has been mighty. So I'm grateful, again, for that aspect of remembrance and that aspect, again, on this political road and what that means to foster a political thought within youth and what that means for them to be able to dream and imagine what a new Guyana can look like and how it looks with them really being in it, not with them outside
Yes.
of it, not with them being on the margin, but with them being the center of the future and freedom of Guyana.
Sure.
Brother Kofi W.E.B. Du Bois, all artists political. Over to you.
You know, I was thinking about the fact that you have been pressing a lot and other people for the biogenetics, if I'm not mistaken. That's the term in terms of
Biometric.
the biometrics. Yes, the
Yes.
biometrics, the infusion of that into even the voting system, the electoral system. And again, my work is to really gently and firmly challenge the dichotomy that has evolved in terms of spirituality and practicality, in terms of entertainment and culture, in terms of song and dance or liberation music. Because I can't unremember times in Buxton as a young boy following again people like yourself and Karen and everything on a donkey cart leading chants that were not just for some form of entertainment. At many times were not for entertainment at all, but were the soundtrack for our evolution that became known as a civil rebellion that almost tore this country, not tore this country apart, but changed the whole course of this country until political assassination and other things got in the way. So I'm saying, of course, all art is political because politics is about the people. And the proverb says quite clearly, Sauti ya watu ni sauti ya Mungu. The voice of the people is the voice of God. They even had said it in they haven't repeated it in the Grecian term, vox populi, vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. When people were talking about people's power and no dictator, or when people in the Black Panthers and others in the States were talking about all power to the people. And when Imam Jamil elevated the language to say it's not just power to the people, but let me remind you that the power is in the people. So therefore, as a master teacher, he was reminding us that look, this is not something outside of ourselves that we have to go and grab, this power that we're talking about. This is the
Yes.
collective governance of ourselves, and our community. So, of course, all art is political because art, as Sister Sunny so eloquently said, art is the expression of the God in us in a way that speaks to our aspirations. When you study any part of history, what are you first going to look at to see what those people were about, what those people were thinking about? What were their aspirations? What was their trajectory? What were their struggles? What did they deeply, deeply desire to bring into their life? You're going to study the art of the people. You're going to start the artistic expression, whether it's
Yes.
classic Rome, classic Kemet, Congo, the Nile Valley, ancient the Palomares, the people of Haiti, under Cecile Fatima and Boukman, when they use the art of the people, the cultural art of the people to galvanize a revolution that is still invoking revenge from the powers, the so-called powers that be in Europe, because of how badly they whipped them in 1804. And you know where this revolution, what boy came on? If people would research for themselves, boy came on. Boy came on, which was is popularly known as what was it called, the ceremony of the irritated genie, when Cecile Fatima and others brought all of the various tribes of the land together to say, okay, we are one people, and together we can overthrow this yoke of oppression. It happened in an alligator swamp. In an alligator swamp is where one of the most powerful political revolutions of the last 300 years was fostered. In an alligator swamp. And the alligator them never eat the people them. The alligators were in harmony with the people. In an alligator swamp. To me, that speaks volumes about what art and power and art and politics, how they relate to each other. Because again, it's the soul of the people that expresses itself in the people's artistic vibration. And it's the soul of the people that is most at stake, that is most is the collective soul of the people, then the collective aspirations of the people are what are most at stake in any political process. Again, because the voice of the people is the voice of God. Some may want to take that as a religious kind of thing. You could run there with that. We're talking about God meaning energy, God meaning creativity, God meaning presence, God meaning abundance. All of these principles that other empires have been able to tap into for their progress, for their benefit, even though it's a temporary benefit. Because, as Miles Davis said about those who would copycat the jazz musicians, but they didn't have the essence, they didn't have the blue note. So this is about our people reminding ourselves that yeah, the meek shall inherit the earth, and that's not just poetry. It's very simple because when you look at the trajectory of the world, when you look at the fall of the new Roman Empire, when you look at the decline of the American dollar, when you look at the decline of the American infrastructure, again, the people who are poised to not just survive but to prosper through all of this are people like the people of Guyana who have had to grow up under blackout after blackout, fetching water just to take a bath in long provision lines, seeing the disrespect of their so-called leaders, stealing the money that is theirs and not sharing it equally, but beefing up their own pockets. People who have had that resilient nature that have been able to survive these types of tribulations that our people have been surviving. Those are the people that are poised to be the front runners in the new world. So for me, the art, just like Baba Ogunseye was saying the other day, he can't separate identity from resistance. We can't separate art from power, and we can't separate power from the people. That's the whole reason for power in the first place in this life that we're living right here.
Brother Kofi,
It's inseparable.
Brother Kofi Kwayana here tonight. We're talking art, politics, culture, African spirituality, African memory. Of course, we put them all together. That's where the cook up comes from. That's where the method
Hmm.
comes from. That's what all the African foods and the African culture, we are not just walking on one plane, we are moving,
No.
always
Yeah.
moving on
Yes.
several planes at the same time, and always ready to move and to dodge and to switch. Our African American brothers and sisters call it code switching. And we're always
Hmm.
doing that. The exodus of Jah people, African people, always having something to say, always reconnecting with our ancestors and renewing ourselves because we are constantly in battle. We are constant in battle with those who once felt that we were not human beings. And today, even though they accept that we are human beings, they feel that we are human beings who must stay in the back. And we are determined not to stay in the back. Our energies in Guyana today are going towards moving to that gate again, the gate of this mental plantation, and saying we are bursting out and we not going back, as the Rasta man would say, we forwarding, we not coming back again. As
Yes, sir.
we wind up, Baba, your closing thoughts.
Um, because my one of my interests in our people, my application, my push is uh, spirituality and economics. Two things. Um, one of my teachers told me that we are revolutionaries disguised as artists. And that is the way that we can touch each person personally, one by one, through a piece of jewelry, through a comedic skit, through a poem, through a song, through a drawing, through anything that draws our people, because all of us within are artists. And that art doesn't have to look like something that you paint, but just the art of life, of how you can make nothing into something, how you can make lemonade out of lemons. And I just want to leave with the thought of we are creative artists in all forms of life. And we have to understand that our creativity is unlimited. It doesn't have any boundaries. It can play a part in any form of life. And if we can express our creativity at every turn point in our life, then we'll have a better Black diaspora, a better African diaspora, a better outcome, better communities, better businesses, better families, a better world.
Better families, better world. And as you say, the creativity has no rules. And, jazz ain't got
Hmm.
no rules.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why they never can unlock what jazz is, or the calypso, where you can take any topic in the world and you tell a story through song. It's an
Yes.
African gift. When God was sharing gifts to the group, He gave us that gift, and that gift
Absolutely.
has stood us stood the test of time, and it has followed us wherever we go. Sister Sonny,
Yes.
your closing thoughts.
Absolutely. Closing talks.
Yes.
I'm going with what Baba Shola said. No, I think he got us right. It's a again, I just want to give a tremendous amount of thanks for the warm welcomes we consistently receive from the from the conky to the,
Yes.
and that's an ongoing joke with my brothers here, and the Moby and the Pone and every other good thing we have had since we've been here. But the most important thing again has been we're just reconnecting uh, and honoring the African spirit in each person that we have
Mhm,
in each person that we
mhm.
have met, particularly the youth. And we've had
Man,
the pleasure of meeting with youth in several spaces. And one thing that they have reminded us all of when we asked them about this aspect of reimagination and just renewing this kind of faith and fervor. One thing that they have reminded us all, which is something because this has been the same in each, each village that we have gone to, each space we've gone to, in each community we've gone to, was that we are deserving. Is one thing that was told to us, that we are deserving of every good thing. So that was something for them to remind us all about. So I think that is the biggest thing, to know that when we're talking about building this foundation, first we have to look at this point of getting again recapturing, remembering, and taking back every part of ourselves from the mind and hands of this manipulator and destroyer that we've been under the tutelage of this destroyer for a very long time. So it's extremely important
mhm,
for us to peel off the layers of colonization, to
mhm,
peel it away from our tongue so that we lose the taste, to peel it away from our eyes so that we're able to see one another clearly, right? And remind ourselves of our worthiness, remind ourselves of what it is that we deserve. So these youth in each space have reminded us that we are all worthy and we are all deserving of every good thing. So I just
yes.
want to, remind us all of that in YouTube land, and people who tune in from there, to know that our youth are giving us that reminder that when we are building and rebuilding this foundation, that we build it on something good, that we build it on something strong, because they are
Mhm,
reminding us that we are deserving of every good thing.
mhm.
Brother Kofi?
Yeah, I would like to seal with gratitude, Dr. Hines, for you having us on your great platform, and gratitude for you for holding this fire, holding this space for our people. Political education, public education is so crucial. I would seal with some words that my father said in a recorded message when I was leaving to come home. Um, in essence, he was talking about, saying to us that, there's some guy named, I don't remember his name. I won't even give him any credit by calling his name right now anyway. But a person who is trying to manipulate history and putting words in my father's mouth. But what my father stuck to was that this guy said that he wasn't a saint, and he said, "Well, I never said I was a saint, but I've always striven to be a saint. I've always strived to be saintly, and I would." He went on to say that I would caution you against following anyone or giving your allegiance to anyone who is not striving to be saintly. And what I take from that is the essence of the integrity that our ancestors established these
Yeah,
villages and these towns with. You know, we're not talking about perfection in the sense of the Western world. We're talking about high integrity, the spirit of Ma'at. It's something that we will never go wrong by remembering. And I'm using the word remembering because it's already in us. So, like the poet Rumi said,
yeah,
your task is not to seek for love. Your task is to seek for all the obstacles that you've built against that. Because our birthright, our default setting is love and peace and power. I visited somebody whose name I'm not going to call, someone you know very well, Dr. Hines. A few years ago, upon entering the country, I just went to pop up on him and his farm. And he said, Kofi, we got a serious problem here with African people in this country. Jagdio is using the lunar cycles and doing his blood sacrifice. And we are still trying to just pick it our way out of this situation and use Marxism as our approach. And I took that very seriously because we know what the legacy of the political left has been. Marx did say at one time that, religion is the opiate of the people. That's why I give thanks for
Mm.
people like yourself, Dr. Hines, who come from that school, that leftist school, even though I never heard you call yourself a Marxist. I don't know if you are or not, but you have transcended that narrow way of looking at things. And I'm saying that many of us have not decided to welcome and ask ourselves very honestly, what about the spiritual aspect of our revolution? What about the
Yes.
spiritual aspect of our revolution? So that's just the question, an open-ended question I would like to leave our beloved people with this night. What about the spiritual aspect of our revolution, our evolution? And that is
That's
something that
right.
we can answer for ourselves in the still small voice, in the dark night, even when the light's gone out. We don't need any Google, we don't need anybody's lecture, we don't even need to read a book to hear that voice, what that voice is going to tell us. And with that voice compelling us and us being obedient, acting on that voice, I know that Guyana is going to be, as the song say, till at length we all will show what Guyana's sons and daughters can be. That song still bring goosebumps to my skin. I can
Mhm.
imagine yours, Dr. Haynes, because
Yeah.
you're in the trenches a long time. It's the possibility is what makes life worth living.
Brother Kofi here, and Brother Kofi, insofar as I label, I'm a black Marxist. I
Uh,
bring to Marxism what it didn't have, and that is the
mm,
black experience. Marx was
Mm.
never an expert on
Yes.
slavery, chattel slavery, and we
right.
black Marxists bring to
Mm.
that Marxist tradition an
Mm.
analysis that comes out of our experience on that plantation that Marx
Yes.
did not and could not deal with. And so, therefore,
Yes.
I put myself in that tradition. And so, Marxism as something that is narrow and something that is dogmatic has never been part of our tradition. I
That's
learned
true.
my
Yes.
Marxism from one A.U.C. Kwayana, and later
True.
on encountering the Walter Rodneys and Clive Thomas and Rupner Rhines and Dyes, who lent to it. But my first lesson in Marxism was in your fathers and mothers flat where you live.
Yes.
There are a bunch of us got our first taste of Marxist analysis as little teenagers, 14, 15 years old. And so our Marxism
Mm.
comes from something somewhere different. And we would like to think that we African people have enriched the Marxist tradition. Thank you
Yes.
very much, sister and brothers. It's been quite an uplifting evening, and that means
Yes, it has.
that you are now part owner of this program, and I will find you all wherever you all are to come back so that we can continue to talk more about the issues that we have addressed tonight. Thank you all so
Asante
much.
Sana.
Asante Sana.
Much love.
And to you, our audience, always loyal. That's why I say, I love you all. You all are so beautiful. I love you all because wherever we go, you follow us. And wherever you go, we follow you. I love you all. Tomorrow night, GHK Lal. He has not been on for a long time. And he's coming to talk. Real talk, as we say. Real talk